Hey guys, Matt from footballboots.co.uk, and today we'll be filming our second blackout video, seeing the Nike Mercurial Superfly CR7 Savage Beauty being handed the back to black treatment. We've already blacked out the Mercurial Vapor 10 Techcraft boots, so if you want to check out that video, click on the card on the top right of the screen now. Following these simple steps in this video will ensure you guys blacking out your own boots will not only do a good job, but also make sure you don't do damage or ruin your favourite pairs. So although we've already blacked out the Mercurial Vapor 10, that pair of boots were actually K-leather as part of the Techcraft pack, so these Flyknit and Nike Skin synthetic Superflies will take to the dye slightly differently. We've been hooked up by the company Blackouts, big shout out to them, with a full set of blackout equipment to transform the volcano themed Madeira CR7 boots into a stealth-like visual. You can find a link to Blackouts website in the description below. Let's get straight into step 1. Our Blackouts DIY kit came with 3 different bottles, an acid to take away the factory finish, a blackout dye to coat the boots, and finally a finish to seal the dye. Step 1 involves stripping away the factory finish with the acid to allow for the dye to soak fully into the upper. Just note that the boots must be incredibly clean or new if possible for a high quality coating. We're using a cotton pad to apply the acid across the entire upper, apart from the Nike swooshes, CR7 branding and ACC text, so we create a classic looking black and white boot. The kit also included a small brush for using throughout the process, but we opted to use 2 longer handle brushes with the thinnest tip utilised to precisely apply the dye around the Nike swooshes and other branding. So you only need a little amount of the acid, especially if you're doing specific sections, and then you carefully stroke the cotton pad over the desired areas. Once done, leave to dry for 2 to 3 hours before continuing to step 2. Into step 2, and the boots are ready for their first layer of dye. We break it into 3 parts as you need to repeat this step a few times. As seen within step 1, we're going to leave the Nike swooshes and branding alone, so we're using our thinnest brush to carefully paint around each part. Thankfully, Nike have already bordered their swooshes with black to help us out, but don't worry if you do get some dye on any part of the boot you didn't wish to coat, as you can use the step 1 acid to take it away once the blackout treatment is finished, which we'll show you later in the video. For the remaining parts of the upper, you can use a thicker brush to coat the larger areas quicker and more effectively. It's a good idea to have a clear starting and end point to make sure you dye every section. And once you've painted the whole boot, you can leave aside and bring in the next one. We're now speeding up this process so you guys can see the steps in fast speed. Once the second boot is done, you need to put them aside in a cool, dry place without direct sunlight and overnight. fill in step 2, we're going to do exactly the same as before and carefully border the swooshes and branding with a thin brush before using the slightly thicker one to coat the rest of the upper with the dye. We're also leaving the dynamic fit collar as it is, due to it being black with pop orange accents to represent the football boots colourway, but you can dye the collar if you wish. Just make sure you have enough dye to coat the upper and collar at least 3 times, but 1 bottle should be enough. You don't need to overly apply the dye during each coat, carefully and sparingly is the way to go. Into the last step of step 2, left overnight for the second coating of dye to fully sink into the upper and fully dry. The boots are now ready for the third and final application of dye. As with previous applications, coat all the areas you desire in an even and careful manner, remembering that any stray dye on areas like the swoosh and sole plate can be removed by applying the acid used in step 1. Now you leave overnight for the final drying session. Now progressing into step 3, we're at the stage where the boots have received 3 coats of black dye and also sufficient time to dry. So it's time to go over any mistakes you've made very carefully with the acid. We're using cotton buds to precisely dab away any dye on the swooshes. As you can see, the dye wipes away pretty easily, but it can be quite fiddly as the dyed upper can be wiped across too, so that's why you've got to be careful. Once you've wiped away the imperfections, you can then dry with a cotton pad. Last stage and step 4, the boots are pretty much finished. They've been fully dyed and perfected, so now you need to apply the finish, which is a milky liquid which seals the dye to make sure it stays black throughout use. Again, we're using a cotton pad to gently wipe all across the upper, making sure every spot is coated, and once completed both boots, they're ready to dry overnight, and then you can start tearing apart the opposition in one of the classiest looking boots on the pitch. So guys, there's how to black out your Nike Mercurial Superflies. Any questions, feel free to ask in the comments section below and flick us a like if you enjoyed the video. Cheers. Hi, Matt from footballboots.co.uk, and today we'll be filming a brand new type of video by showing you how to correctly and effectively black out your boots. The boots we have here today are a pair of Nike Mercurial Vapor 10s in the leather Techcraft edition in its black and hyper pink colourway.